Previously on World History and Geography.
Three major monotheistic religions arose in Southwest Asia: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Islam, the most recent of these three religions, began in the 7th century CE on the Arabian Peninsula. Muslims, followers of Islam who carry out the 5 pillars of Islam, believe that God spoke through the angel Gabriel to Muhammad and revealed the Quran to him. Islam spread rapidly on the Arabian Peninsula and continued to spread after Muhammad's death.
And now, our feature presentation.
When Muhammad died in 632 CE, a successor, or instructions on how to choose one, had not been determined. Relying on ancient tribal custom, the Muslim community elected as their leader Abu Bakr, a loyal friend of Muhammad. In 632, Abu Bakr became the first caliph, a title that means successor or deputy. Abu Bakr and the next 3 elected caliphs, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, all had known Muhammad. They used the Quran and Muhammad's actions as guides to leadership. For this they are known as the rightly guided caliphs. Their rule was called a caliphate. Shortly after the Prophet Muhammad's death, some tribes on the Arabian Peninsula abandoned Islam, while others refused to pay taxes, and a few individuals even declared themselves prophets. For the sake of Islam, the first caliph Abu Bakr invoked jihad. The word jihad means striving and can refer to the inner struggle against evil. However, the word is also used in the Quran to mean an armed struggle against unbelievers. For the next 2 years, Abu Bakr applied this meaning of jihad to encourage and justify the expansion of Islam. When Abu Bakr died in 634 CE, the Muslim state controlled all of Arabia. Under Umar, the second caliph, Muslim armies conquered Syria and Lower Egypt, which were part of the Byzantine Empire. They also took parts of the Sassanid Empire to the north. The next 2 caliphs, Uthman and Ali, continued to expand Muslim territory. By 750 CE, the Muslim Empire stretched 6,000 miles from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indus River. Dar al-Islam is a term used to refer to those countries where Muslims can practice their religion freely. These are usually Islamic cultures wherein Muslims represent the majority of the population, and so the government promises them protection. Most Dar al-Islam areas are surrounded by other Islamic societies to ensure public protection. The Muslim armies were well disciplined and expertly commanded. However, the success of the armies was also due to the weakness of the 2 empires north of Arabia. The Byzantine and the Sassanid empires had been in conflict for a long period of time and were exhausted militarily. Another reason for Muslim success was the persecution suffered by people under Byzantine or Sassanid rule because they did not support the official state religions, Christianity or Zoroastrianism. The persecuted people often welcomed the invaders and their cause and chose to accept Islam. They were attracted by the appeal of the message of Islam, which offered equality and hope in this world. They were also attracted by the economic benefit for Muslims of not having to pay a poll tax, also known as a head tax, on individuals. Because the Quran forbade forced conversion, Muslims allowed conquered peoples to follow their own religion. Christians and Jews, as people of the book, received special consideration. They paid a poll tax each year in exchange for exemption from military duties. Though Christians and Jews were not allowed to spread their religion, they could be officials, scholars, and bureaucrats. Despite spectacular gains on the battlefield, the Muslim community had difficulty maintaining a unified rule. In 656 CE, Uthman was murdered, starting a civil war in which various groups struggled for power. Ali, Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law, was the successor to Uthman. Then, in 661, Ali too was assassinated. The elective system of choosing a caliph died with him. A family known as the Umayyads then came to power. The Umayyads moved the Muslim capital to Damascus, in the area of modern-day Syria. This location, away from Mecca, made controlling conquered territories easier, but the Arab Muslims felt it was too far away from their lands. In addition, the Umayyads abandoned the simple life of previous caliphs and began to surround themselves with wealth and ceremonies similar to those of non-Muslim rulers. These actions, along with the leadership issue, gave rise to a fundamental division in the Muslim community. In the interest of peace, the majority of Muslims accepted the Umayyads' rule. However, a minority continued to resist. This group developed an alternate view of the office of caliph. In this view, the caliph needed to be a descendant of the Prophet. This group was called Shia, meaning the party of Ali. Members of this group are called Shiites. Those who did not outwardly resist the rule of the Umayyads later became known as Sunni, meaning followers of Muhammad's example. Today, the Sunni make up 80 to 90% of the world's Muslims. A very small group, the Sufi, rejected the luxurious life of the Umayyads. They pursued a life of poverty and devotion to a spiritual path. The Sufi dervishes in Turkey today are easily recognized due to their tradition of whirling or spinning as a form of physically active meditation. I'm getting a little dizzy. Vigorous religious and political opposition to the Umayyad Caliphate led to its downfall. Rebel groups overthrew the Umayyads in the year 750 CE. The most powerful of these groups, the Abbasids, took control of the empire. When the Abbasids came to power in 750, they ruthlessly murdered the remaining members of the Umayyad family. But one prince named Abd al-Rahman escaped the slaughter and fled to Spain. There he set up an Umayyad Caliphate.
Who invaded Spain in the 8th century?
Spain had already been conquered and settled by Muslims from North Africa, who were known as Berbers, and later called Moors.
I'm so sorry, it's the Moops. The correct answer is the Moops.
The Berber armies advanced north to within 200 miles of Paris before being halted at the Battle of Tours in 732 CE, but we'll get to that later. They then settled in southern Spain, where they helped form an extraordinary Muslim state in Al-Andalus. Back in Southwest Asia, to solidify power, the Abbasids moved the capital of the empire in 762 CE to a newly created city, Baghdad, in central Iraq. The location on key trade routes gave the caliph access to trade goods, gold, and information about the far-flung empire. The Abbasids developed a strong bureaucracy to conduct the huge empire's affairs. The treasury kept track of the money flow. A special department managed the business of the army. Diplomats from the empire were sent to courts in Europe, Africa, and Asia to conduct imperial business. To support this bureaucracy, the Abbasids taxed land, imports and exports, and non-Muslims' wealth. The Abbasid Caliphate lasted from 750 to 1258 CE. During that time, the Abbasids increased their authority by consulting religious leaders, but they failed to keep complete political control of the immense territory. Independent Muslim states sprang up, and local leaders dominated many smaller regions. Some of the Abbasid territory was lost to the Fatimid Caliphate, which was formed by Shia Muslims who claimed descent from Muhammad's daughter, Fatima. The Fatimid Caliphate began in North Africa and spread across the Red Sea to western Arabia and Syria. However, the Fatimids and other smaller states were still connected to the Abbasid Caliphate through religion, language, trade, and the economy. At this time, two major sea trading networks existed, the Mediterranean Sea and the Indian Ocean. Through these networks, the Muslim Empire could engage in sea trade with the rest of the world. The land network connected the Silk Roads of China and India with Europe and Africa. Muslim merchants needed only a single language, Arabic, and a single currency, the Abbasid dinar, to travel in the empire. To encourage the flow of trade, Muslim money changers set up banks in cities throughout the empire. Banks offered letters of credit, called saks, to merchants. A merchant with a sack from a bank in Baghdad could exchange it for cash at a bank in any other city in the empire. In Europe, sack was pronounced check. Thus, using checks dates back to the Muslim Empire. At one end of the Muslim Empire was the city of Cordoba in Spain.
Córdoba.
In the 10th century, this city had a population of 200,000. Paris, in contrast, had only 38,000. The city attracted poets, philosophers, and scientists. Many non-Muslims adopted Muslim customs, and Cordoba became a dazzling center of Muslim culture. In Cordoba, Damascus, Cairo, Baghdad, and other major cities in the Muslim Empire, a cultural blending of people fueled a period of immense achievements in the arts and sciences.
I'm so sorry, it's the Moops. The correct answer is the Moops.